Golems, machines, tools, creatures whose life is given unto them only by holy words in the right phrasing and the right language, devoted to the right god. But where did they come from? What is their purpose? And what do they strive for themselves, if they strive at all? Hello and welcome back to the Discworld lore series, where today we'll be looking into the nature, origins and actions of the artificial species known as the Golems. I wanted to cover them because they are perhaps, in their deeper concept, one of my personal favourite things in the Discworld mythos, with their role in the series that wonderfully expands over the course of the novels. Most golems have been made centuries before the present. No new golems have been made in that time, because priests argued that the creation of life is solely the domain of the gods. While this could be considered a rather debatable reason, it has nevertheless worked to prevent their production. You see, the priests have a say in their production because a golem needs holy words to function. The holy words, which are otherwise referred to as the golem's chem, usually define the behaviour and aim of a golem, and provide it with its life, igniting the inner fires that burn in the eyes of an animated golem. The priests also dislike it when golems speak, which leads to many being crafted without mouths, confining them to communicating through writing on slates suspended around their necks. Golem legend speaks of a time known as the Age of Clay that says golems were the first invented creations of the Umnians about 60,000 years ago. The first golem was likely an accident, a votive offering statue offered to a god, brought to life by luck as much as anything else. But the people of decided to experiment and make more of these loyal clay men, these machines of clay and words. The Umnians did not really invent anything else. They did not work iron for tools and used the wheel as anything more than a child's toy, a curiosity. Was, however, lost in an unknown cataclysm, but which is believed to have been a great flood, one that left the city and its golems, who are generally speaking immune to such trivial things as ocean depths and water pressure, simply waiting for their next instructions. However, the art of the golem was not lost with as their contact with other civilizations had allowed their technology to spread. With the loss of the great craftsmen of however, golems were never quite the same. In the golems had been nearly 10 feet tall, sculpted as paragons of the human form, muscled and handsomed, beautiful to behold. Over time, these forms became less important and more functional, leading to them ending up looking more like the commonly seen gingerbread man appearance of most surviving golems today. Our next big chunk of understanding of the culture from the ancient golems comes from the one named Ankh, whom we meet in Going Postal. Almost 19,000 years old, having been baked by the priests of Upsa in the third ning of the shaving of the goat, Ankh was made with a voice that he might serve as a messenger. However, Upsa was destroyed in the explosion of Mount Shipu II, resulting in Ankh spending 2 centuries under a mountain of pumice waiting for it to erode away. He then became a messenger for the fishermen kings of the Holy Alp. Some time later after this, he delivered the decrees of King Het of Thut. That is, he delivered them right up until the day he was tasked to deliver a message, warning Het that the sea goddess was angry. When the land of Thut promptly slid under the sea, the goddess evidently having the level of patience to match her temper. Now, most people would probably be getting a bit miffed at this point, but to a golem, time is just a thing that happens. It has little consequence to them. Just as well, really, since he was destined to spend the majority of his 19,000 years of existence sitting on the seabed, watching things go by and awaiting his next instructions. After some unknown period of time, some fishermen caught him in their net by accident, and he found himself, as all fated persons on the disc inevitably do, in the city of Ankh Morpork, working under the stewardship of the Golem Trust. You see, golems take orders very seriously. They will continue to follow the order they are given until told to stop. If the owner forgets that he ordered a golem to dig a hole in the garden, he might end up with a nice view all the way down to Great Atuin's shell. This is all because golems are one of the very few species to lack an inbuilt existential crisis. They know that they are made to be tools, to be property, to be owned. As such, a golem is always aware of who owns it, and from that owner it will usually follow every order without process, without payment, and without rest. This all makes them rather popular for the dirty and dangerous jobs, although they cannot be used to harm people. You see, a rule inscribed on the chem of every golem is, do not harm a human, and allow no human to come to harm. That is, unless it happens to be a golem employed by Havelock Vetinari, at which point it will gain the addendum, unless ordered to do so by duly constituted authority, because, let's be honest, it's Vetinari. Of course he thought of that. But this all changed when golems began to realise in a slow, subtle way that they wanted to live their own lives. seeing the freedom of thousands of people of every known species living their own lives and making their own choices, while you yourself are considered little more than a sentient screwdriver, can have that effect, even after thousands of years of accepting that existence. The first plan of the Golems of Ankh Morpork to do something about this didn't exactly go well. For the details of exactly how this all went, I would recommend you go and read the book in which it all happened, Feet of Clay. If you already have, or don't mind the spoilers, let's continue. A group of golems within the city, among their number the golem Dorful, gathered in their holy day tradition to plan a way to become free. In their way, they decided that what the golems needed to be free was a leader of their own, and with the help of two humans, the gentleman Mr. Hopkinson, the creator of the Dwarf Bread Museum, and Father Tubelchek, the theologist, they all donated some clay and combined it with some older stolen clay from the brickyards and potteries of Ankh Morpork to make Meshuggah, the king of the golems. Unfortunately for them and it, they included in its chem far too many instructions, all of their hopes and pleas for freedoms and just rule, all of which clash and contradict, and they leave poor Meshuggah quite insane. This madness led to a resentment of its own existence, leading to the golem murdering Hopkinson and Tubelchek out of spite, before finally being given peace by the efforts of the City Watch and a repentant Dorful, who was himself killed in the fight, his chem shattered by Meshuggah. However, this was when the unexpected happened, and proved to the people present that golems were more than just simple tools brought to life by a holy spell. Dorful managed to move and fight even after the loss of his chem, staying conscious long enough to write the words in the heart cannot be taken, before returning to inanimate clay. Understanding this, the watchman Captain Carrot took charge of Dorful's restoration, adding to him a tongue and a mouth that he might speak for himself. Following his restoration, he joined the City Watch, where he began to implement his new plan for golem freedom. You see, during the events of the novel, Carrot had given Dorful to himself, by the expedient of placing the receipt for his purchase, the marker of who owned a Dorful, within his own head alongside his chem. A golem must have an owner, that is something they all know. But now, thanks to Carrot, they had a way to own themselves. Dorful established his system thusly. He was now free, so he could now earn wages. He saved up his wages to buy another golem. That golem then got a job and saved up enough to purchase, along with Dorful, yet another golem, and so on until now we have the modern establishment of the Golem Trust. Operating under their motto of by our own hand or none, the golems are freeing themselves by contributing money to purchase and own themselves. The Trust operates primarily out of a small, slightly run-down office in Preston's Shaw Dolly Sisters, golems having no need to waste their money on anything more comfortable. In addition to the acts of the freeing of golems that it purchases, the Trust also acts as an employment agency, finding good employment with wages for those golems who have been freed. They also operate the informal but effective Golem Fire Brigade of the city. This operates under the simple principle of when a fire begins, all golems within range to assist will arrive at once and rescue people, secure portable property, and then extinguish the fire. Since they are made of clay, they are quite fireproof, making the most expedient way for them to fight fire simply being to stand on it and remove it from the building. The Trust also seeks out and frees golems who have been trapped or find themselves without orders and are just sitting, lost in the dark or behind forgotten walls. Part of their ability to do this comes from the curious ability golems have referred to as singing, or the call of the common clay, sending out a resonance that cannot be heard, but rather travels through the dirt and the earth and the stone until it is felt by another golem. Once it has been felt, the golem will alert others and conduct a rescue if possible. It was in these circumstances that the most unique of the lost golems were found, the lost golems of the city of But that is a story for another time. We will wrap up our explanation of the Discworld Golems, and I hope to see you next episode for a look into the curious case of the Umnian Golems. Until then, bye for now.